Phew, thank you so much. So the only two questions. Hi, Daniel. Thanks again. The only
You're
two
welcome.
questions from the CTAG group, the Correction Time Action Group, is based on your experience. Would you recommend a secular or a spiritual approach, or both? And do you have suggestions or ideas as to what topics Machiventa want us to tackle first? Are there any priorities? And the second one is, what are your thoughts regarding the There Is a Plan website? So those are the two. I can repeat them again, but...
Please, your first question really was a composite of three questions.
Yes. So would you recommend a secular or a spiritual approach, or both?
I would recommend both. If you are truly a devout spiritual being and you want to do God's will, and you will to do God's will, not just once, but thousands of times in your life as you grow up, and you have given your life over to God to lead you, that was tough. I have had a very tough life. This has not been a fun ride. You'll be exposed to all your foibles, all your difficulties, everything you must overcome. Our life plan includes several levels. One is to become an ethical and moral person. Well, and secondly, to overcome your egotism and your fears. And through the process of a secular life, you can learn how to overcome those. You will experience those challenges, which will bring you on your spiritual journey, so you can do the Father's will. And then at that time, you will be then put into service. After you learn your mortal lessons of self and others, then you can be of service, and all the first two parts add to your soul and qualifies you to then be of competent servants to others, which is a whole nother journey that you and your thought adjuster will personally engage. So if you want to live a regular American cultural life, don't live the spiritual life, because it's going to just kick you in the butt.
Yes.
Okay. Next part.
The next part is, what do you think Machiventa would like this group to tackle first? What are the ideas? What topics would Machiventa want us to tackle first? Are there any priorities?
Well, the first one is self.
Yes, yeah.
Work on yourself. Okay.
Yes.
If you have those emotional inner self-doubts, fears, or you're socially aggressive, you're still seeking wealth and prosperity beyond what's useful, that's something to work on. Okay. As far as the group is concerned, that's different. What to work on would be I would say this first is, I'm terrible at marketing. Okay, you need to know that. That's why I wait for opportunities and wait for Spirit to lead me. Is that how do we share this new era of Spirit revealing itself to humanity without trying to sell it, without trying to sell books, without to proselytize, without being making an issue, and just handing out food for thought, to be able to engage in philosophical questions and then adroitly bring it around to the spiritual mission of this planet. Okay. This planet was created for a reason. It is a decimal planet for a reason. The tough life that we are experiencing as a civilization, as humanity, even as individuals, is an experimental process of learning of how to improve the 9/10 of planets that have a program of development. We're here to, we're the, what are we, the control group, or we're experimental? We're the experimental group.
Yes.
So I've just had a belly full. I've just had a throat full of people trying to sell the Urantia book, try to sell a religion, compete with the Christianity and so on. And I know others do too. You open your mouth, lights are out. Why listen to more? And then it's all into ego and argumentation, and mine is better than yours. It's just, why does God love us? Huh? Philosophically. That's a good place to start. I mean, and the mission is our world is in such desperate straits through wrong intentions from wrong goals as to be unsalvageable. Okay, we will not be able to humanity, civilization, will not be able to salvage ourselves under our own steam or with our own intelligence. We just don't have it. We're too self-destructive as individuals and as societies. We live in a hostile environment. I have a child, a second son, a wife, and two kids who live in Colombia, South America. And whenever they have to come to America, they say, well, I'm taking the red pill and I'm jumping into the matrix. It's so complex out here.
Yeah.
It is so disabling.
Yeah.
Unempowering and destructive.
So working on ourselves is the first one. Is there another priority? You've just mentioned for yourself 2 priorities. The AI programming, working on that to try and put all the socially sustainable material into an AI context, but also the learning centers for sustainable societies, this family centers, are 2 things that you would like to work on. What do you suggest, or is there anything that you see in your mind that this group could work towards? We already have this idea that Liz has started of a website dedicated to the There Is a Plan, where we hope this would also end up, this recording.
I'm glad to answer that. One is the group, as a group of numerous individuals, needs to be asking from a point of individual discussion, dialogue with spirit about how they can help the group. And secondly, for each individual to have the same request, but for the group. And what I've found is that, I'm a Christian Zen Taoist. Okay.
Yes.
In my life's inclination is to then ask to be led into an opening. Now, the masculine penchant is always to do something. They want to do something. Men have the hardest time being something, being at peace. It just doesn't happen. So when we what do we want to be? And I've asked that of my thought adjuster. I said, thought adjuster, what do you want me to be? Well, the obvious answer is to be like myself, perfect in every way. So how can the team be useful as a spiritually conscious group of spiritually conscious individuals? This involves multiple people thinking in their conscious mind about what they should do. Okay. Now, shoulds and oughtos and not tos are dead, as most recovering alcoholics know. We should do this, we ought to do that, and so on. But for a group to be led into its greatness, that's a challenge. That truly is a challenge. Because how does a group become aware of an opportunity? Well, it's through individuals. And so each individual in the group will probably report back each time they meet about opportunities that have come into their life. Some will be relevant for employment. Some will be relevant for vacationing, schools for grandchildren, and so on. But how to do this for the group to be? What is the group to be? Is to be prepared. The group needs to be prepared for an awakening. Now, the trouble with Western thinking is that I want it now. So what is it I'm supposed to prepare for? Well, you know what you're supposed to prepare for. The recovery of Western civilization, particularly of the organizational matrix that supports civilization, has a program for recovery of its own. However, there will be spiritually seeking and wanting and needy individuals, groups of individuals who are going, I can't make sense of this. Can you make sense of it? Well, somebody please make sense of this for me. God loves us. How does this shit fit in with God loving me and loving all people? It doesn't make any sense. And so there needs to be some real rationality, some real heartfelt connection with those people who are seeking answers. And, the spiritual message you may give them would be spiritually based. And some people just absolutely don't want to hear that. And you have to be willing to release them to their own ends. Okay?
Yeah.
And so the person who asks them how to make sense of this is really what the group is asking now. It's how do we make sense of our presence here on the planet at this time? Now, I advise them not to ask the when question, because the when question is developmental.
Yeah.
Spirit only goes by developmental, progresses developmentally. And so the when is totally human oriented. It is by the year, by the month, by the day, by the week, by the hour, by the second. So the when question has to be absent from the mind of the people in the group. Once the team achieves that level of absence of thinking about when and time, then the focus can be more on be. What do we need to be? You need to be aware, you need to be prepared, and what you're going to tell people and how you're going to present it. And if your first phrase out of your mouth is, well, the Urantia book tells us, you might as well cut your wrists because this other person's going to cut your throat verbally. Doesn't want to hear it. They'll be gone. Okay?
Yeah.
Our Jesus tells me, being a clairaudient channel is not an easy road. I have been the pariah of the Urantia book groups for 30 years. Okay, are being exiled by a spiritual group or a group that says they're spiritual is painful. It hurts. I have, because of many moves through my childhood and adolescence, I really lived my life as an adult in exile from the mainstream of America. I lived in Berkeley, California for 6 months. Never went down other than to go do some banking on Telegraph Avenue. I never dropped any acid, never didn't smoke dope, and I never had free sex. And I didn't pay for it. So, good thing I was married. So I missed out on a lot of our cultural developments. Now, because of the lack of cultural awareness of 98% of people in America and Western civilization, they aren't going to have a clue about what's happening and why, and what they can do about it, and what they can do with it. To me, this recovery begins now. This is a time of tremendous experiment, tremendous time of challenge to try something new. I mean, the Chinese symbol for crisis and opportunity are truly, they're in sync. Because when things are torn apart, that's the only time you can put things back together.
So, Daniel, if you have one more thing you'd like to say, anything that we haven't touched upon that you would like to speak to, what would you say?
Meditate. Go into stillness. Listen. Don't try to listen. Just let. Go into the space of no thought, as the Taoists said 4,000 years ago. So no words, no pictures. And before you go into meditation, start with an intention. Simple intention. Okay, that's it. Don't expect answers right away. You should anticipate something happening in an hour, 2 hours, a day, 2 days at the most. Sometimes 2 weeks when you begin, but depends on how big your ask is.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Daniel. That was a
Pleasure,
wonderful
Martha.
privilege. Thank you.